What's going on, my friends? I'm just out and about, getting some stuff done and doing my thing today. I wanted to talk real quick. I was watching a video of another Vanlifer. They started talking about power problems and backup power, and she basically said the Jackery 1000 she had on her channel, Jackery sent it to her to review. She got to keep it, which is nice. Saved her butt, and it charges more efficiently. Jackery is amazing product. I love Jackery. I've talked about it before. I'm going to talk about portable power here in my 240, and where I feel the future of all-in-one power systems are going. Depending on the size RV or van life size, the build that you want to do. Basically, if you want to go full on like me or big, and depending on what you require to power, all-in-one might be your best answer. Now, she talked about solar, and she's kind of where the sun index is not as, in the wintertime, it's not as good as it is in the summer, but in some parts of the world, it's not as good as it is in others all year round, even though summer is usually better than winter. And that's pretty much what's going to, you can have 800 watts of solar, but if you're not getting enough sun to generate it, you're going to get whatever you get. Just because it's 800 watts, I mean you're getting 800 watts. Now, with that said, sufficient solar is good. Solar is fantastic, and I'm telling you, proportionally to the battery or battery size, the capacity that you have, your solar probably should be at least 100 watts more than your amp hours or watt hours that you generate. Watt hours obviously is rated at a higher rate, but it's proportional to amp hours. So whatever your amp hour rating is, so at least 100, maybe double. If you've got 200 amp hours of battery, 400. I only have 300 watts of solar and 200 amp hours of battery, and it works fine, But in the wintertime, I'm going through the same thing. That's pretty much what I talked about the other night. I am going through this where my solar is not charging at enough rate, so I'm having to run my vehicle, and that's what the alternator is used for. It's a fuel source for the van. It's its own generator. You can charge your batteries. It's probably not the best to sit there and idle your van for several hours. That's why I'm getting, if you're going to go with lithium-ion batteries, make sure you get a charge controller that's rated and made for lithium-ion batteries. I'm learning this, and I'm going to have to order one from Progressive Industries. I'm getting it before too long here. Is a battery charger converter that will charge. It's going to be a 60 amp that will charge the lithium batteries like they're supposed to be charged. Even though I have a background in electronics and all this stuff, there's always things you learn about devices and how they're designed, how they're made, and technology changes so much. That's why I say it's part of you. Please do your research of what you want to do. Now, with that said, I think the all-in-one systems like Energy, I talked about Energy, Energy. You can go to Energy Tech, T-E-K, energytech.com. Their new flex systems are amazing. They're going to be rolling out heavy very soon here. They have expansion batteries that will expand on the Kodiaks as well as the Apex that I have. I think in my next van, if I decide to do that, it's just going to be that Energy with some expansion batteries. I've got a 1500 watt inverter. Really, I think that's all I need, considering it will use my coffee pot, and I can use a small 700 watt microwave if I want to. You got options to do it. If I decide to go bigger or do something, I can. The one system I've got has got some lugs on the side of it to where it's always pushing 12 volt, but I can run to a power distribution bar or a fuse panel, and I can put everything to that, and it's running all the time, and I can turn the unit on or turn the unit off, and then have solar going in. The cool thing about the new flex systems Energy has, and as well as the 1000, the Jackery 1000, is you can put your own solar panels into those units. Jackery is now expanded where you can put your own 21 to 23 volt panels. I think maybe 17 to 21 open voltage, but that's another conversation. But your rigid 100 watt panels or 200 watts, there's a think there's a max on the Jackery that you can use. But the new Flex system with energy, they've got a supercharger, and you can put up to 2,000 watts of solar, and you can go as much as you want on the battery, as much as you want to spend on it. Those batteries can be a little pricey. I feel the sky's the limit, and this technology is going to get better and better and better. One of these companies is going to come out with the ideal unit. It's going to have at least 200 amp hours and a 2,000 watt inverter that's going to work. Now, Blue Eddy has one called the AC200, and I don't know if that thing is fully rolled out yet, but Will Prowse was talking the other day that it's having some problems. Blue Eddy likes to send these prototypes to guys like Will Prowse and give them feedback. Will Prowse is a good solar reference. If you want to follow somebody on YouTube who knows about solar, Will Prowse, Prowse. He's amazing. You want to learn about living in a van, a car, a tent, an RV, or whatnot, Bob Wells has a bunch of resources that teach you the simplest ways to however you want to do it. Robin Barrett, Creativity RV, she's amazing. These channels, We're the Russos, these guys will teach you very cool things about the simplest ways to RV that are so efficient, and you'll never miss a beat. Just because someone has expensive technology or something doesn't mean it's the best way to go. I'm kind of learning in my van. I've got this really nice microwave and this 3,500 watt inverter, but I don't use it enough. Now, if I go to sell the van, it's going to be a very useful for somebody else because you've got a lot of headroom. It's useful for me. You know, I haven't had many limitations. Now, I will say my Alpacool refrigerator, when the battery starts getting low under 100 amp hours out of that 200 amp hour, there's a protection, and most of these 12-volt refrigerators have a protection circuit in their compressors, and they'll power off. I didn't know that. I'm learning something about all this. This is part of learning that my solar is not bringing charge in efficiently enough every day, so I'm going to have to keep my battery above 60% for the refrigerator. That's fine. I'm not going to use 200 amp hours because if solar in the summertime is always keep it charged, or you're driving, or you've got short power, you're keeping that thing charged where you don't really want to drain it, even though sometimes, every once in a while, it's good to bring that battery down and charge it back up so it doesn't get stagnant and build a memory. Lithium-ion batteries are notorious in their BMS systems to form a memory and kind of, get stuck at wanting to shut down at a certain point. However, I think on my last battery, it was defective, period, anyway, and it had nothing to do with that. But they say it's healthy every once in a while to drain that battery and bring it back up. It's like doing a reset. It's really good to do, so. But she was talking about this, and I'll mention the channel. It's Dawn of Vanlife, like the name Dawn, D-A-W-N of Vanlife. She lived in a minivan, and she's got a cargo van, keeps it simple. She will talk about, she just did a video, I think today, talking about the Jackery has been the way to go, her 1000. She doesn't require a ton of power either. You would be surprised what you really do or don't need when you're in a van. You don't really need all these gadgets and devices pulling all this wattage. The simplest things, it just depends on what you need. You may need it, and if you do, that's fine. I run a CPAP machine when I sleep at night, and it doesn't use any battery. I've got a 12-volt to 12-volt converter. If I've got a fan going in my refrigerator, it doesn't use any battery at all. Now, if I've got the AC running on the summertime, and it's about a comfortable 80 degrees, keeping the room cool, it may use, all that stuff may use about 30-35% of the battery at night. But in the summertime, the solar index is high. It'll charge by lunchtime. I got 100% battery. It's amazing. Now, the term sun index, there's a whole subject on that I'm not 100% versed on. And my advice to you is, if you Google the sun index for where you live, or there's sites that dedicate the rating, the numbers, and how it's rated. And you put in where you live, it'll tell you the sun index and how it rates from summer, spring to winter. And it probably will get more in depth as to how at what rate your batteries will charge with solar. This applies with your homes, with houses. That's why most vans, if you get solar panels that are mounted flat on the roof, you're not getting, that's why I'm not getting as well as solar. There's a benefit to portable panels at leaning them at an angle towards the sun all day long. Now, mind you, there's some work there that you're going to have to go out and move them, but that just depends on where you're at. You can get added panels to that, and part portable and part permanent. You can add them in. It's a little frustrating to do, but you can set up and do it. You can get an external plug and plug extra panels in. Just make sure that your charge controller, you're not exceeding that. I mean, I can go, I think 550 watts of solar on the charge controller that I have. I have 3. I think I can go 6. I have to double check that. But anyway, look at a lot of these things when you want to build the system that you want in solar. Do the research of what the people talk about. Will Prowse is really good. A lot of these van channels will tell you about how they're charging the batteries and what they're doing. This is the important reason why I talk about making sure you have a big enough alternator in your van. You need a 230 amp versus to a 180. I can't remember the difference of the amperage, but you need an RV-ready alternator. That's why I upgraded the alternator in that van. You don't want to undertow that alternator and burn it up, because you get past 100 amp hours of battery or more, depending on what you're running. You can burn up your alternator. You can cause other problems. You don't want to do that. It is very important that you take note of these things. It's part of doing the research, and I knew that you really need a good alternator. Now, on another note, there are systems that are expensive, but they're amazing, like these lithionics I've talked about, and these Volta systems. You can make them all in one. There's components. They have a separate alternator. Now, I have no clue how that alternator is put in with the other vehicle. You got 2 alternators, but it is a very high-powered alternator that rapidly charges these systems. And there's huge batteries and they're great inverters, and they just, the new Winnebago Echo's got the lithionics. These Winnebago Travados have the Volta systems. I always thought, well, I guess they'll have it a few hundred amp hours of battery. No, you're talking on these Travados, 800 to 900 amp hours of battery, and you're talking about 12 kilowatts or more, 13 on these lithionic systems. They can get as big as you want to get them. I didn't know this, and they're amazing systems. There's a channel called The Fit RV. James, he talks about this. Go look at it. Really cool resources. There's a thought to do an all-in-one if you know somebody who could install that for you. If you're unsure, if you're very versed in that stuff, you can install it yourself. These companies have good documentation. They'll walk you through how to install the stuff. I think on those systems, in my case, the most complicated thing of it would be to install that alternator. Not running the wire to the system, but just getting installed and tying it into the engine, how that works. It can be very tricky. You have to really find somebody who knows what they're doing on that. So, but anyway, I wanted to get on there. I wanted to talk about that for a moment, and not to ramble, but there's important things that come to mind I want to talk about, and you guys need to keep that in mind. I think it'd be very helpful for you. Anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching, and listen, if any van lifers are watching this channel, if you let's cross promote. I'll promote you if you promote me. I do it all the time. I think it's good. I'm a musician, and I start learning about promoting music I've known for years, that like the whole Spotify thing, us promoting each other and playlists and all this stuff. It really is healthy. And it really spreads the word of a lot of good content, a lot of good music and stuff out there. And I'm going to talk further about my music. I'm working on some stuff to do, a new album, maybe a couple this year. And I'll get deeper into that too. So I do music for film and TV, but I also do albums of my own of instrumental music with various like guitars and stuff like that and stuff. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great one. Bye.